On tonight's podcast, Marjorie Taylor Greene. Is she running for governor? Collins is in. Kemp's backing somebody else. All kinds of dominoes fall. We're hearing stronger rumors about when Raffensperger is going to get in and for what. And of course, the reason why you all have started listening to the Peach Pundit podcast. An update on the Frostopus. That coming right up. Peach Pundit, the podcast, is a conversation filled with the personal opinions of the people who are participating. Any view or opinion expressed belongs only to the person who expressed it and not with anyone with whom that person is professionally affiliated. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for another episode of Peach Pundit. My name is Scott Turner, joined this evening by the beaming, smiling face of Buzz Brockway. Buzz, how are you?
I'm doing well. It's just you either laugh or you cry, so I might as well laugh.
Those are the times we live in. That's your favorite phrase? What a time to be alive.
What a time to be alive. I might have a new one.
Yeah.
There's this hilarious, it's on my Instagram and Facebook feed. I think you liked the post. It's this hilarious comment from a fan of the MAC conference.
Yes.
Taunting the SEC and saying things like, have you ever seen a punter throw a touchdown to the long snapper while the scoreboard was on fire? I didn't think so. But he says
with seven missed, in a game that ends in 42-41 with seven missed PATs.
Yeah, and somebody stole the uprights for the goalpost. But he ends with, you wouldn't last one quarter in Ypsilanti. So that's the new measure of toughness. Can you last a quarter in Ypsilanti?
Big things for the Braves and Reds. I know.
Yeah.
I am the weirdo that is the Reds fan in the Peach Pundit universe. Although I did find out that I did not know this until recently, that the head of the Georgia State Ethics Commission, David Amati, who played college ball at UGA.
Oh, did he? Wow.
Was a scout for the Cincinnati Reds.
Wow, very cool.
I did not know that until recently.
Now we can have him on the podcast and just talk about scouting. We don't even have
to baseball.
He doesn't have to reveal things that he's not allowed to talk about. We can talk about baseball.
Yeah, I would love to sit and chat with him about baseball, especially since he was a scout for one of my favorite teams. He's like, you didn't know? And I was like, I am offended that I am finding out about this in the month of July 2025.
But yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, your Reds against my Braves.
Yep.
85,000 people are going to be there. Well, Bristol, whatever the name of the speedway is at Bristol Motor Speedway, I guess it's called.
Yes, it's Bristol.
In Bristol, Tennessee.
Well, it's Bluff City. It's Bristol's in Virginia, but it's just across the border.
Oh, okay.
But it's Bristol.
Yeah. Got to be playing baseball in the infield of a NASCAR racetrack.
Yeah, I'm going. I bought my tickets in December. When this came out, I that's something I'm going to go there. That's just what's going to happen. And so I've been looking forward to it since December. It was my combination birthday present, Christmas present. I think I will probably need some binoculars just to see who's batting.
Yeah. Yes.
Because we're going to be in the left field stands.
Well, and honestly, I have no idea who's pitching for the Braves, and neither is Brian Snitker. I feel like our entire starting roster for pitchers are out.
Is Strider still healthy?
I guess Strider's
because
there, but yes, he's
MLB
missed time.
is pitching it as Strider versus Chase Burns, who is our rookie.
I think they face off the first game. But and Acuna, I don't think Acuna will be there because he had thankfully nothing major, but he limped off the field the other night. They put a boot on it. It's worried about his Achilles, but it's not his Achilles, just a calf strain. So.
Yeah. That guy, you got to wrap him in bubble wrap. He's that valuable. Don't let him just walk around.
And he's actually, having a fantastic season. The only thing worth watching, actually, unfortunately, this season with the Braves is Ronald Acuna.
Yeah. Well, the Reds are in it. They're just a couple of games out of the wild card. They're acting like buyers. They went and traded for a light hitting third baseman, Ke'Bryan Hayes from the Pittsburgh Pirates, which I don't like this trade at all, just because it doesn't fill a need for the Reds.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to say, oh, his defensiveness. Look, the days of Ozzie Smith are gone.
Yeah.
You need somebody that can swing the bat.
People got to hit.
And the Reds have had too many games where they have lost 1-0.
Yeah.
If they had scored 2 runs in each of their 1-0 losses, they would be comfortably within the wild card and within striking distance of first place of the division.
Wow. That's the Cubbies. The Cubbies in first place.
The Cubs and the Brewers keep trading places at this point. But nobody here came to listen to us talk about National League Central baseball. Just, I know y'all will be rooting against my team this weekend. I love you anyway. Hopefully you give me grace.
They probably won't be paying attention because they'll think, well, it's less than the month of college football. We can divert our eyes away from the train wreck of this season.
Yeah. You know what else is a train wreck? Now that you mention it, is you wrote this piece about Marjorie Taylor Greene not running for governor. And you pointed out that she wrote this really long tweet, and you linked to the tweet, which I am going to, for the listening pleasure of our audience, read to you now.
A dramatic reading, huh?
Not a dramatic reading, but I might stop in the middle of it and give commentary. And I'm going to read as much as I can put up with.
You know what you should do, Scott? You should we've got the GrizzardBot. We should give it a voice. And it can then make dramatic readings of
funny
tweets.
You should say. GrizzardBot had something to say today about
he did.
Marjorie not running. And if you like Louis Grizzard, I would point you to the Peach Fund of the blog, where we have created an AI chatbot. In his spirit, it took me a couple hours to teach it how to respond like Louis, and it does with all of the word pictures that you could possibly imagine. From Waffle House references to SEC football and biscuits and his grandmother and his mama. It's brilliant. It's great stuff. So check it out. He had some things to say. Marjorie had this to say. I'm always dismayed by constant rumors about me and people who claim I'm doing things, yet have not spoken to me about anything I'm doing or not doing. If you've not heard it straight from me, then it's likely not true. Pause. Well, I seem to think that we heard this from her. Buzz.
I confess, I did not call her and say, "Are you running for governor?" I didn't ask her directly.
No, you didn't. But she was on the radio.
Right.
She was on the radio.
I think it was the Politically Georgia podcast with Bluestein and company.
Right.
Where she said, "I might run for Senate. I might run for governor. Everything's on the table.
It's on the table.
Those are both on the table."
Marjorie, if this gets to you, that's why people were talking, because you told us it was on the table. And those of us that are in the Georgia political universe, we've been talking about you ever since as a potential candidate, because you've never indicated you weren't. And you started showing up everywhere like you were. Continue. If I was running for governor, for the entire world would know it, because I would be all over the state campaigning. Pause.
She kind of was.
She kind of was. Continue. I would have ads running. I would be raising scary amounts of money, and I would literally clear the field. I don't think Burt Jones is afraid of Marjorie Taylor Greene.
No.
Continue. Just to remind everyone, the first time I ran as a complete political outsider in 2020, I ran against 8 well-respected men and beat them all, easily finishing off the last man by double points and a runoff. I did that and won the primary and runoff without the coveted Trump endorsement. I am humbled and grateful by massive statewide support that I have to run for governor. And if I wanted to run, we all know I would win. It's not even debatable. And only because of that massive statewide support is why I ever considered it in the first place. Pause. It's debatable.
Well, I think it wouldn't shock me if the polling we heard when she decided not to run for Senate, that she was shown a poll that she would win the primary and get crushed in the general.
Right.
Wouldn't shock me if there's a similar poll.
Well, but it's debatable that she would win.
Right. You'd have 2, maybe 3. We'll talk about the third one later. Burt Jones, serious politician, can raise serious money. Chris Carr, longtime serious politician, is raising good money. They're not going to back away. And they're more seasoned politicians, with all due respect to other folks she's run against. and
they understand the state and its issues far better, especially if you've run statewide in Georgia already.
Yeah.
You have networks built in. Chris Carr.
And both those guys do.
Burt Jones, Brad Raffensperger, all of them have built-in statewide networks that she would not have. She'd be very strong in her own district. But she continues. You see, unlike most, I'm not about chasing titles or grasping for more power, despite what people think, who don't know me, think about me. I'm reading it exactly the way that she wrote it. If I'm going to do something, I do it and I'm all in, and it's for the right reasons. However, I have a different perspective on the entire 2026 campaign cycle ahead of the fragile state of Republican control in Georgia. Now this, pause, Scott talking now, this is something where I appreciate what she's trying to say. Continue. My perspective is rooted in my relationships with real people and Georgia businesses. Issues I know are important that are being ignored and has nothing to do with the 30,000-foot view and stupid polls from the out-of-state consultants that get rich every cycle, whether we win or lose. Georgia is long controlled by the good old boy system, and the very established men-only Republican firm is unfortunately overseeing the slow slide from red to blue. Pause. Marjorie has exhibited on many occasions now this feminist streak that just because you're a man, this is the way it comes across to me. This is Scott's opinion. The way it comes across to me is just because you're a man, I'm going to discard your opinion. Or because you're a man, that's the way you think. It is true that, especially in the Republican Party, we have male-dominated majorities.
Yep.
But it's not for lack of trying to recruit conservative women in the cause. This is largely why you saw Brian Kemp nominate or appoint, actually, Kelly Loeffler. If you look at Brian Kemp's appointments, he appoints from across the board. He tries to find the most qualified person for that job. And oftentimes it is women. Oftentimes it's somebody from a minority community. We all know that we're predominantly white and we're predominantly male. But that doesn't mean that the men are conspiring against the women.
Right.
Every male conservative who's serious about the health of the Republican Party and the conservative movement that I know, every single one of them who's serious about it, wants to see more women involved.
Yeah.
We want qualified women in these positions because that perspective is different from a male perspective. And it's important to have these different perspectives when you're doing things like making law.
I will say this, Scott. I don't want to mention her name, but I had a friend who ran for Congress, raised decent money, worked her tail off, and just the part of the state she was trying to run in, she told me it was very frustrating. She got a lot of people who would nod their heads and say, yes, we need more women. And then they'd kind of pat her on the head and say, well, ain't you sweet little lady? I'm going to vote for the man. And so
because it was a man or because they had other reasons? Or was that the way it came across to her?
That's the way it came across to her.
All right. Okay.
So I think there are, I agree with you that MTG comes off sometimes as a little bit of an angry feminist, but we have to put action behind those words. If we really want, when a qualified woman comes along, we need to support her.
Yes. And, this is why I supported Karen Handel.
Yeah.
This is why I supported Megan Hansen for State House.
Yeah. That's why I voted for Kelly Loeffler.
Why I voted and
a very accomplished, successful woman.
Yeah. I got on the Kelly Loeffler train very early when my own speaker was saying, don't.
Yeah.
And I did it anyway.
Yeah.
Because she was qualified. This is the thing about, we're straying now a little from the tweet.
Yeah.
But it's an important topic. This is one of the things that I think is lost when people start throwing around accusations like this, is I want the most qualified person, but I also recognize that until you have done this job, you're not qualified. Like, what makes you qualified is that first year in office. And if you have to choose between 3, 4, 5 different candidates and none of them have actually done that job before, it's more likely that the person who has been in office, at least in some level, is going to have more experience and be more qualified. That's just the way it works.
Well, and MTG's own campaign undermines her claim that Georgia's run by a good old boy system, because she went to a very conservative part of the state, in a rural part of the state, and they elected her out of the blue when she really didn't live there.
Yeah.
They resonated with her message, right?
We're going to continue with this tweet because it gets there's more. There's a lot more. Continuing, the I'll scratch your back if you scratch mine, wheeling and dealing at the hunting clubs and country clubs does not reflect the sentiment and issues of the vast majority of Georgia voters. I agree with this. Continuing, as a matter of fact, the good old boy system is where many of our state's good-hearted donors are misled cycle after cycle to support candidates who offer lukewarm platforms that never address the real issues plaguing our state. Pause. Donors have their own set of things that they care about. One of them's electability. Just saying. They don't want to throw good money after bad. They want to know if they're going to support somebody that person has a chance of actually winning. That's their number one thing. I've had plenty of donors tell me over the years, I just don't like your chances. Mm-hmm. And then I had to go out and work. And then it became easier to raise money when I proved I could win.
Yeah. Well, I faced that when I was running for Secretary of State, is people were like, Buzz, I don't know, you got to raise enough money to show that you can win. I said, yeah. And if nobody gives me money, then how am I going to raise?
Right.
If you won't help me, how am I going to?
Right.
But it's
a catch-22.
It is. And I understand it. There's a reason that these folks are successful is they don't just throw their money at any cause that comes along. They're wise in how they spend their money, even on political candidates.
And we're conservatives. We're going to be conservative with our own money.
Right.
Continuing. As a woman, none of this appeals to me. Pause. There are a lot of men who would share that sentiment. Yeah. Just saying. It has nothing to do with man or woman at this point. If you are repulsed by the good old boy club, then there are plenty of men who feel the same way. I'm just saying.
And honestly, there are a lot of women who enjoy country clubs and like hunting. So true. Don't stereotype people.
Continuing, as a mother, none of this appeals to me. As a lifelong Georgian and business owner, none of this appeals to me. And believe me, if none of this appeals to me, there are a lot of women who agree with me. The state of affairs in Georgia concern me, and I will leave it at that. Pause. You see a challenge. You see that there are things that concern you, and you're decided you're just going to go away. Yeah. But just know this, she says. If I were running for governor, I would have a platform and a detailed plan much different than the others that would save our sweet home state of Georgia, our precious hardworking businesses, and give our much-loved children a bright future. That would be for every Georgian, not just Republicans. And one day, I might just run without the blessing from the good old boys club or out of the state consulting leeches, or even without the blessing of my favorite president. One day, I might just run purely out of the blessing of the wonderful people of Georgia, my family and my friends, but it won't be in 2026. In the meantime, you'll find me in the beautiful hills of Northwest Georgia and fighting with all my might in the House of Representatives for the people who elected me. End scene.
There's a key phrase in there.
Yep.
One day I might even run without the blessing of my favorite president.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be surprised if we find out at some point in time that just like we heard about in the Senate, the president said, don't.
Wild speculation.
Whoa, we're getting fancy here. We got sound effects now.
It is not beyond plausibility that this tweet came after a personal conversation between Donald Trump and Marjorie Taylor Greene, where he said, Burt Jones is my guy.
I already have a guy in that race.
I have a guy in that race.
Yep.
Burt Jones is my guy.
Yep. Now, he hasn't endorsed yet, but...
come on. The only reason why he hasn't endorsed is trying to keep Marjorie from getting in. If Marjorie gotten in, it probably would have been a harder choice for him. But the fact that she's not getting in lends credence to what you're saying. It's wild speculation. We have no evidence.
No.
We have no personal knowledge. Nobody has told us. But that line stands out like a sore thumb in this gigantic tweet.
Yes.
That just rambles about men and women and misogyny and, oh my gosh, dude. Like, I was so tempted retweet this saying she's one step closer to putting on the pink knitted hat and joining the Me Too movement. She's that close. We've had a contributor point that out in the past, Peach Bunny. So, anything else about Marjorie Taylor Greene before we move on?
Well, I think this is a big win for Burt Jones.
Burt Jones.
The field.
Biggest winners, Burt.
As I'd said a little bit, he can now work toward gathering all of MAGA unto himself.
Yeah. Yeah, there is no other real MAGA candidate in the race, I think. You've got Chris Carr and him as the two front runners at this point.
Yeah.
As an aside, you put on the rumor tracker a lady that is running... I guess she's, the best I can tell is she's a sovereign citizen, if you're familiar with that concept, and she's created a fictional kingdom called Lock Nation.
Yeah.
And she's running to seek the Republican nomination.
Let's keep talking. I'll dig up get her exact name.
You don't have to, but just to say that there are more people than Chris Carr and Burt Jones in the race right now is really the point I was making.
Or is she running for Senate? Hang on.
Regardless, it is. I think you are right. I think it's Senate. It doesn't matter. There are more people running for governor. They're just not serious candidates. She wants to be an
ambassador from the Lock Nation to the United States of America.
Right.
Yeah, Christina Clement, the Empress of Lock Nation, LOC Nation. If you want to have a good laugh, look it up. There's documents and all kinds of...
We might actually do a piece
proclamations,
on it. Just because it's fascinating. I might try to reach out to her.
She's running for Senate,
So those are the two most serious candidates. We keep hearing, though, in the governor's race that the last domino to fall is Brad Raffensperger.
Yeah.
And all of my conversations with the Raffensperger camp, they have been telling me, they play coy with me and they tell me they don't know what he's going to do. But the rumors are getting stronger and stronger and stronger that he's going to get into the governor's race at this point, which it'll be him and Chris Carr trying to battle it out for the lane that's not MAGA.
Yeah, I think that's, I mean, the dynamics of that, I was talking with a friend the other day, I think the dynamics of that are going to be fascinating to watch because how it could play out. I think Burt Jones is just licking his chops, hoping, because he's kind of we all hear about never Trumpers. He's a never Brad and has been for a long time. So he's kind of licking his chops. And can he, will he, he's always run positive campaigns that, in the times that my observations of Burt Jones' campaign, I think he breaks that and goes after Brad hard. And then what happens? And what does Chris Carr do? How does Chris Carr respond? And how does Brad Raffensperger respond? And what are the dynamics of all of that? And because when you attack somebody, you do hurt yourself some. Yeah. Your attacks may land blows on your opponent, but you hurt yourself too.
Yeah.
So
especially in Georgia. I think in Georgia, negative campaigning is effective at a point where you see diminishing returns.
Yeah, and it'll be an interesting test of how much, there are elements of the Republican Party and who are still, and actually 3 members of our wonderful state elections board who are still absolutely obsessed with the 2020 election.
Ignoring the job they have to do with running future elections.
Yes. So but I get the sense that a lot of people are past that. And so the danger that Burt Jones faces is if he takes the bait and just goes after Brad all the time, it's just a referendum on the 2020 election. And I don't think that's I don't think that's a winning issue. I don't know that carries you across the finish line. When you're Burt Jones, when you've got a record as lieutenant governor.
And honestly, objectively, he has a very positive conservative record that he can run on.
Right.
All 3 of them have.
And if that's what happens, then I think the winner, then that's an opening for Chris Carr, even though I think Raffensperger would steal votes from Carr.
Right.
If the 2 of them just get into a big, if Jones and Raffensperger just spend all the time arguing over the election was stolen, no, it wasn't. The election was stolen, no, it wasn't. Then I think Chris Carr looks, I think a lot of people throw up their hands and say, hey, Chris Carr, what do you got for us?
So the question becomes, when does Brad announce?
Yes.
And I think it's imminent. The biggest tell on this is for weeks now, Jordan Fuchs, who was the Deputy Secretary of State, has left the Secretary of State's office.
Right.
That's the biggest tell.
Yep.
That it's imminent.
Plans are being made.
I don't know when, but it's going to happen. We're going to talk more about all the things we told you at the top of the hour after we take this quick break.
Peach Pundit has an anonymous Patreon who would like to invite you to learn more about the Alzheimer's Association. The Alzheimer's Association leads the way to end Alzheimer's and all other dementia by accelerating global research, driving risk reduction and early detection, and maximizing quality care and support. No one should fight Alzheimer's alone. With your help, no one will. Learn more on their website, alz.org.
Americans for Prosperity Georgia champions economic freedom and individual liberty across the state. They advocate for lower taxes, less government, and regulatory reform while mobilizing citizens to engage in the legislative process. Beyond economic issues, AFP Georgia is committed to more choice in K-12 education for all students and removing government barriers in healthcare, like the Certificate of Need. If you'd like to know more about Americans for Prosperity and their Georgia chapter, which is very effective, great group of people, head on over to ga.americansforprosperity.org. Again, that's ga.americansforprosperity.org. Thank you to our friends at AFP for being a partner level. We are supported by our Patreons. If you haven't heard that before, they are the people who make this possible. We have tiers that start at the $5 level that every single one of our folks who offer us $5 a month get to participate in our Pete Hegseth inspired signal chat, which is active daily.
No secrets, no war plans leaked to date.
No, well, not yet. Give us time. Give us time. We just might have something for you on that in the future. Time will tell. But to join them, or if you feel like reaching your pocket and joining us, you can go to patreon.com/peachpundit. Sign up for one of those tiers. At the $10 level, you can watch us record this thing live and get additional extra content. I mean, Buzz and I talked for almost 20 minutes before we hit the record button tonight. And if you were here in the chat, you'd be able to participate in that as well. Thank you again to our Patreons and all the people who support us. So obviously, Mike Collins has gotten into the race for U.S. Senate.
He has.
And one of the initial things that has been interesting to watch is all of the legislator endorsements from the State House.
That is interesting.
I've seen Rick Williams.
A couple of senators too, right?
Rick Williams.
Senators too. And
Jason
Anabatardi.
Emory Donoghue. Yeah, they're
saw Josh Bonner today. There's others too. But...
Yeah. So that's fascinating to me because I didn't know Mike had that type of network, frankly. I saw him at the Capitol during legislative session, but when he ran the first time, there were a lot of state House reps who were from out his area that I didn't know much about him, who were not saying very flattering things. But this is the difference between when you run for an office and when you've been in office. I haven't seen any of the people who criticized him to me back then on his endorsement list yet, but I imagine it could come. But that was an interesting, right off the bat, he starts announcing all these endorsements. But today was like the biggest one, a guy who traditionally is affiliated with Brian Kemp and raises a ton of money for Brian Kemp. What's the guy's name?
Ben Tarbutton. Is that who you're referring to?
Yes. Yeah. Ben Tarbutton.
Georgia Tech alum, by the way.
Has joined the campaign as the finance guy.
Yeah.
Indicating that there may be a break in the Kemp camp over this as well. Thoughts?
Well, it's interesting because, we heard a week and a half ago now that when John King, the insurance commissioner, dropped out, that Governor Kemp had some conversations with John King, Mike Collins, Buddy Carter, and said, "I've got a guy, and sorry, it's not you."
Right,
more or less.
Which caused King to drop out immediately.
Yes, and Buddy Carter apparently has quite substantial personal wealth. Is going to give a go at it, continue on. And then obviously Mike Collins was undeterred and jumped in anyway.
Right.
And so I think, we heard I got a little annoyed by this, but Fox News report quoted an anonymous person who claimed to be in the Trump orbit, that they were extremely upset. Brian Kemp had broke the deal and had gone rogue and all this kind of stuff. And the Trump orbit will not stand for this and blah, 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 blah. Who the heck are you? I mean, I'm sorry. Some anonymous person? Brian Kemp knows the state of Georgia better than anonymous Trump orbit people. It's going to be interesting because that same Fox News story said that Derek Dooley might announce as early as this week. Well, tomorrow's Friday. He hasn't announced yet. And I have no indication that he won't, but obviously that's what Mike Collins is doing. He's saying, I'm in, I'm raising money. I mean, he's updating, daily, pretty much daily. Hey, man, the response I've gotten has been fantastic. We raised X dollars yesterday, and just constantly rolling out these endorsements. It's very smart. And it's obviously an attempt to send a message to other candidates, including Derek Dooley, who might be thinking of getting in. There's no room left for you, pal. I'm surging to the lead. Now, I mean, a long way to go. We haven't seen any polling on this. Way too early to do any polling. Buddy Carter, as you mentioned, seems to have a heck of a lot of money that he at his disposal. Right?
We heard a rumor, and this rumor clarified. This is not verified. That he's putting $10 million of his own money in.
Yeah, willing to. That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
So that keeps him in the race for a long, long time.
It does.
So,
and it allows him to introduce himself to people who've never heard of him.
And I have no idea what the personal wealth of Derek Dooley is. I would imagine, being a Division I football coach at a power conference, you get paid pretty well.
Yeah.
So he might have, considerable resources that he's willing to put in himself. And if Governor Kemp leans in and leans on his fundraising network in the state of Georgia and across the country, Derek Dooley will be well funded. So it's interesting, but it's a pretty smart strategy by Mike Collins here in the early going.
Yeah, I agree. But it's creating dominoes, obviously, because when one office gets vacated, there are people who want to fill the vacated spot. In this case, it's a congressional seat, which is a step up to the major leagues.
Yes.
And Houston Gaines, our former colleague, announced today that he would run to replace Collins. I believe he's the first announced candidate.
I believe so.
To make that commitment. Now, I'll tell you this, right? I have a personal affinity for Houston Gaines. I just think that is a good dude.
He is.
And so I am completely biased at this point. I move to close nominations.
Yep. Yeah, I'll second it. I don't know that it's going to work, but there'll be a lot of nominations from the floor, most likely here. But yeah, because open congressional seats don't come along that often, and so there's a lot of pent-up demand.
Exactly. But a lot of folks who want to try their hand at it.
But the challenge he'll have is like Marjorie Taylor Greene would face, right? He represents an area of the district. He represents the Athens area. There's a lot. Athens is very different than Milledgeville, right? So he's gonna have to work hard, and he will. He's a good campaigner. He'll work hard, and he's easy to like, and he'll raise good money. But that's I would think he's the front runner, and not just because he's the first guy in the race, but because he's a serious candidate who can raise money. And I didn't see the list, but apparently there were quite a few House members of his House colleagues who endorsed him too.
Yeah. And it would make sense that they would endorse him. He's a member of leadership. He's a vice chair of the caucus. He's also the guy who authored the Coleman-Baker Act, which will help him in, I think, that district as well, because there are people who were very passionate about that. And it has already led to cold cases having somebody caught for murders that happened decades ago.
Yep.
Which was our bill, and which is one of the reasons why I like the guy so much. When I explained to him the problem and the potential solution, he dove headfirst into that and carried the banner for those families and got it done.
He also, Scott, and this is one of the things I really respect about him. Maybe it was his first year, maybe his second year. The
heartbeat bill
came up.
Yeah.
And at that time, his district was considered a swingy district.
Mm-hmm.
He voted for it when a lot of political consultants would have said, run for the hills.
He voted for it knowing that it was the vote that might have sent him home.
Yep.
He was willing to sacrifice his own political ambitions and future over that vote.
Yes.
That vote was razor thin. Without him, I don't know that it gets done.
Yep. And so I love politicians who do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who say, you know what, this is what I believe, and I believe this is the right thing to do. And if I go home over it, that's okay. And that's when America needs many, many more politicians like that.
I told him at the time, I pulled him aside in the house and I told him, I was like, this is a really easy vote for me because my district wants this.
Yeah.
And I recognize this is not easy for you, but I just appreciate you so much.
Yep.
And he looked at me and he's like, it's just what had to be done. Mm-hmm. It's the job that he was hired to do. So he's going to do it the best way he knew how. And it didn't cost him, thankfully.
No.
And now he's running for Congress. And that's the type of man he is.
Yep. No, it'll be interesting. I mean, I'm sure I made a post based on engaging in wild speculation, based on wild speculation from a website I like to read that had a cast of thousands running for it and who might consider it. And they're all reasonable because there are people who live in the district or had run before. So I'm sure we'll hear other names, but.
So who will replace Gaines? And there's two spots that we need to replace Gaines at this point.
Yeah.
And we'll start with his state house seat, but he's also going to have to give up his spot in leadership. So that means there'll be leadership elections.
Yeah.
To fill him. So we'll start with who you think will run. Have we heard any names yet?
Have not heard any names.
That I reached out to folks today, and that was easy. I even reached out to a Democrat.
Yeah.
In that area to ask them, are you hearing any Democratic names? And they've sort of been caught flat-footed. There was nobody that was ready to go run for the state legislature. Although I think it was pretty obvious that Houston would have run if Collins.
It's early, right? It's early.
It is still early.
Yeah.
The state house race does not require the resources or the amount of time to win. A campaign can start December, January, and still be a winning campaign come primary time. So we don't know that, though. But any ideas who might want to become vice chair of the caucus?
Well, I mean, I think you've got to look at people kind of similar to how Houston was when he first ran for that. Newish legislators who people like tend to. Our friend Sam Teasley was in that situation when he became caucus vice chair. He was a newish legislator that people liked. So I don't know. There's some out there. I would look at some of the first or second ones.
Charlie Bird?
Who aren't chairman yet.
Charlie Bird have a shot at that? I'm kidding.
No.
Of course not.
No.
With
all due respect.
With all due respect. Again, all due respect. I don't know. Sometimes they like to swap positions too.
Mm-hmm.
I think they did this back in the day when we were there too. You might see somebody like the whip or the vice chair of the caucus. When I got there was Matt Ramsey, and he ran for whip.
Yeah.
When the whip opened and Ed Lindsay ran.
Yeah.
So there's potential for maybe some shift that way. Earhart is the secretary treasurer.
Mm-hmm.
She might move into the vice chair potentially. I think she'd be good at that as well.
Yeah.
She's doing a good job where she is. I don't know if the speaker is going to want to have multiple caucus positions open. He might discourage that. That's speculation on my part.
Here's a name for you. Carmen Rice. She's
pretty new.
She's in her first term.
Yeah.
But what's interesting about her is she immediately was given the vice chair of the education committee, which is pretty interesting for a person who just walked in the door. So that caught my eye, that they trusted her enough. And she's done a great job. At her first session, she did a great job.
I think Bethany Ballard would also. She's got a little more seasoning. She's been here a little bit longer than Representative Rice, and she's been able to get big policy things done. She would be excellent in that role, I think. She's probably going to call me up and tell me, why did you say that? But I think
because we engage in wild speculation.
That's what we do here.
Representative Ballard, that's what we do.
That's what we do. So there will be plenty of dominoes that'll fall as a result of this Mike Collins announcement. But that just gives you we started with Mike Collins.
Yeah.
Now we're talking about a state house race. Now we're talking about caucus leadership position.
Yep.
There are going to be lots of dominoes every time something like this happens.
Yep.
It's unavoidable, but it also creates opportunity for folks.
Yep.
So we're going to take a quick break. On the backside, the reason why you all are here, your Frostopus update is coming up next.
Golden Retriever Rescue of Atlanta, GRA, is an all-volunteer, tax-deductible charitable organization. They are dedicated to providing veterinary care, comprehensive evaluation, and foster and adoptive homes to golden and Labrador retrievers who are abandoned, mistreated, neglected, or left in shelters throughout Georgia. We encourage you to visit their website GRA.com and help connect people and dogs that need each other in their lives. You truly can make this world a better place by helping find homes of gold for these golden-hearted pups.
Conservatives Concerned is a network of political and social conservatives who question the alignment of capital punishment with conservative principles and values. Our programs include educating conservatives about the failed death penalty system and mobilizing them to bring about its end. We come to this issue for a variety of reasons. Some believe that small government and the death penalty don't go together, especially when we compare the high costs of capital punishment to life without possibility of release. Some don't trust the state to get it right. We already know that some innocent people have been sentenced to death, and for others, it may already be too late. Some believe that the death penalty contradicts our values about protecting life. Find out more at conservativesconcerned.org.
I recently spoke with an attorney whose name is Craig Kugler, who represents defrauded investors in Ponzi schemes. He's made his whole practice out of trying to go and get the money back for people who are taken in Ponzi schemes. He practices in various states. He has represented people in multiple Ponzi schemes, and he's really good at getting money back for people who have been defrauded in these things. He said, the one thing I tell my clients, the very first thing I tell my clients is stop blaming yourself. And that is something that I want to adopt here as we continue to talk about this, because it is really easy to look at this and say, why didn't you see the red flags? Or for those of us who didn't invest, it just seemed too good to be true. Why would you have done that? And so it's easy to start blaming yourself, and it can put you in a bad spot mentally.
Yep.
But people like Craig offer these investors reassurance and hope. Craig's really good at going after money that maybe the receiver can't get to. Because the way Craig broke it down for me is that there are 3 lanes. The first is the SEC does their thing. They appoint the receiver and the goal is stop the bleeding. Just no more investors into this. We will freeze everything. The second lane was what we talked about with BJ PAC last week on the podcast, the criminal side. But there's this third lane where Craig and other attorneys like him operate. And that is they find the trusted advisors who are not named in the SEC action, because you can't sue the people who are named in the SEC action. The court puts a stay on it. They freeze people from suing the Frosts and the Frost-related entities. But there are a whole bunch of people that might be accountable that are not named in that stay, and that's who he goes after. Financial advisors, trusted advisors, CPAs. People usually have some sort of license and fiduciary responsibility. And so when he first called me, I've been trying to get this guy on the phone for a long time, for weeks, because an attorney came to me and said, I have clients. I'm working with this guy. It was very early. And so for weeks now, I've been telling you, I want to tell the stories of the victims. If you're a victim of this, and this is one of my sources for that, I'm trying desperately, when his clients are ready to tell their story, we want to tell their stories, because we feel like there are opportunities for them to share aspects of how they got snookered and fooled that could serve as a warning for others. So Craig, when he initially sat with me and talked, he said, I'm off the record. But as he kept talking, he mentioned there's this one particular guy in Georgia who is a licensed broker for a company out of Chicago called Bankers Life. He's a Series 7 licensed broker who was pointing people to the Frost, and he was telling them, because one of my clients is one of those clients. He was referred to the Frost by Nathaniel Darnell. And there's more to that story I hope to be able to tell you later. That part I can't tell you yet. But because Nathaniel Darnell is a licensed broker, it means that he is not allowed to sell things off the menu. He's not allowed to make referrals off the menu unless he asks his firm, this being Bankers Life, for permission. And firms generally frown upon allowing brokers to make those types of referrals because it's called, in the industry of financial advising, selling away. You're only allowed to sell off the menu. It'd be like going to Burger King and saying, I would like a Big Mac, and the employee there saying, the Big Macs are sold at that store over there, go over there instead. Firms don't like that. And in fact, because it makes them responsible for those investments that they have no control over and they have not vetted themselves. So selling away is a major violation. So when he mentioned the name Nathaniel Darnell, I was like, well, this guy's been involved in politics. So I started telling him what I know. And then he said, you know what? I'm on the record. I want Nathaniel Darnell to know I am investigating him. And at that point is when I wrote this post that breaks down how Nathaniel Darnell, who is the president of the Georgia Republican Assembly, that lovable group of goofballs, rejects, and a-holes. Sorry, Miss Laura. And how, number one, Nathaniel Darnell and his firm does not go by Nathaniel Darnell. He goes by Timothy Darnell, which is his actual first name. I did not realize Nathaniel's his middle name. But I found Timothy Darnell on the FINRA website, which is the oversight organization, the regulatory agency that has all these rules and that govern the behavior of licensed brokers. And multiple people now are telling us that they either know somebody specifically who was referred or they themselves were referred. And apparently he was so prolific at it that he is the subject of another firm's investigation. The Wolper firm out of Florida created a website dedicated to Nathaniel Darnell, saying, if you have been referred to the Frost and First Liberty by Nathaniel Darnell, contact our office. We have multiple clients who are in that spot. So you have multiple attorneys who are operating in the same space as Craig, who are going to be going after Bankers Life and other entities. That is the first part of your update. What do you think, Buzz?
Well, reading your article, you mentioned that the firm that there are repercussions for the firm that employs Nathaniel Darnell. So I got to think we might start hearing things happening quickly here because they're going to protect themselves. I got to think.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never met Nathaniel Darnell. Well, maybe just shake his hand once or twice. When I was running for Secretary of State, I showed up at their nominating shindig just to, sorry, Josh McCoon, just to try to throw a fly in the ointment before they coronated him as their choice for Secretary of State. And, so I have no history with him at all, but sure read a lot of articles about him. Sure, there's been a lot of ink spilled about him and his behavior and things that he has said and done over the years. And
Nathaniel Darnell is the individual, for those who don't remember or have not heard, who, when David Ralston died, said God killed him for justice, essentially. I'm paraphrasing, but loosely.
Yeah.
Paraphrasing.
Right. So he's kind of infamous for things like that. But this is it's wrong to describe my feelings about this as pity for him because I have pity for the victims. I'm sad for the victims. So whatever his involvement was, I don't wish financial ruin on anybody, but if you contributed to the financial ruin of dozens and hundreds of others, hundreds and hundreds might be by the time we figure all this. By the time people figure all this thing out, then you get what you deserve. And I'm sorry, you know, I feel bad for his wife, and I don't know what his, you know, if he has kids or whatever. I assume he does, but you should have known better. As you describe in the article, there are professional obligations based on the sorts of licenses he holds and the training that he has had. And you have to keep those professional obligations, or there are consequences. And the chickens are coming home to roost, sadly.
Yeah, this is the next part of this particular story. I gotta hang on before I go any further. I gotta do something real quick. I gotta reach over here and grab my my tinfoil hat.
Wait, oh no! for you audio view listeners, Scott just has made a tinfoil hat. Baseball. It's the shape of a baseball cap in tinfoil, and he's wearing it right now. So
because we're getting in conspiracy land.
So we've moved beyond wild speculation into conspiracy land.
Yeah, it's not speculation. There are allegations made against Nathaniel Darnell and his participation. But we know also that Nathaniel Darnell and Brant Frost, Cinco, have been friends and close for ages. And one of our contributors, Jason Shepard, who has been noticeably silent on the Frostopus, sent me the text messages that he has received over the years from Brant Frost Cinco.
They're in one of your posts.
Yeah, I included just one.
Yep.
And the one that I included was where he offered a 1% commission on an ongoing basis to Shepard.
Yeah.
Now, there were other text messages that were exchanged where Frost was copying and pasting, obviously, because we have received the same exact message from multiple people, including people who were at least formerly elected officials, but are known to have money, where their text messages were identical to the ones that Shepard was receiving. So we know that Frost was out there sending this to a lot of different people, trying to recruit more people to invest money into the Ponzi scheme. And we know that, again, Frost, Cinco, and Nathaniel Darnell have been friends for a very long time. Cinco served as the vice chairman of the Georgia Republican Assembly, where Darnell is the president.
And, with the help of the GRA, got himself elected to, for a time at least, high-level leadership in the Georgia Republican Party.
Yeah, he was second vice chair. Cinco was, not Darnell, but Cinco. So this is where it starts to get conspiratorial in a way, because Cinco wasn't the only one who was out there asking people to invest. Right. There was another elected official, a school board member, local school board member. His last name's Huff, employed by the Frosts, and was actively pushing people to engage as well and to invest as well. So it's going to go pretty far. This aspect goes pretty far, but I think there are real ramifications on the horizon for Nathaniel Darnell. Because I didn't just write this post. Like, ordinarily, I love to say Peach Pundit we're not journalists. We don't have the same journalistic ethics that you would get out of the mainstream media. We don't present ourselves as neutral. We tell you up front where our biases lie, so you can you take a grain of salt. If you want to dismiss everything we say because we're a bunch of Republican hacks, okay.
You'd be wrong, but
sure, you'd be wrong.
Whatever. Yeah. You can hold whatever opinion you want.
But I felt the obligation in this instance, because this story has so much impact on his ability to earn a living. I don't know what it bodes for him criminally, but on the civil side, they're coming for him. I know they are coming for Nathaniel Darnell.
Yep.
When that happens, there will be additional strings on our court board that will have to connect additional dots, because he's not going to go down by himself.
No, and that kind of gets to, well, I guess since it's civil, it may not apply, but as PAC was explaining to us last week, how these things, you roll up the little guy to try to get the big guys.
Right.
So kind of sounds like, even though this is civil, you got to think that with all of this stuff coming to light, the FBI and the Department of Justice, as BJ described, are paying close attention. And
so I wrote the post, and when I finished it, I said, I can't post this without asking him for comment.
Yeah.
I'm not obligated to do that. I could have written the post without his comment. But I don't think it's fair because the level of egregiousness here in the allegation and the potential harm that can come to his financial stature.
Yeah.
To simply put this out there without giving him a chance to respond before I published.
Yeah.
And so the afternoon before I published it, so I gave him overnight and half of the day the next day, I sent him this. I said, Peach Pundit is preparing a story related to the SEC civil complaint involving Brant Frost, Cinco, First Liberty Capital, and federal regulators have described as a Ponzi scheme. Multiple victims and legal sources have raised your name in connection with referrals made to this investment fund. In the interest of accuracy and fairness, we'd like to offer you the opportunity to respond to the following questions before publication. Were you ever affiliated in any formal or informal capacity with First Liberty Capital, First Liberty Building and Loan, or any other related Frost entity? Did you ever receive compensation, commissions, gifts, or referral bonuses from Brant Frost or his companies in exchange for directing individuals to invest in First Liberty? Did you ever refer or recommend First Liberty investment opportunities to anyone, including your fellow members of the Georgia Republican Assembly? Are you currently, or were you at the relevant time, a licensed 7 Series broker or otherwise registered with FINRA? I knew the answer to this is yes, because I looked him up on the FINRA website. It's really easy to verify that he is, in fact, a Series 7 licensed broker. If so, which firm were you affiliated with during the time your referrals may have taken place? Public records suggest Banker's Life, but we would like your confirmation. I confirmed this personally by finding his professional profile on the Banker's Life website. Were any of your activities related to First Liberty disclosed to your supervising firm as required under industry rules? Again, you cannot sell away without your firm giving its blessing. Are you aware that such activity could trigger liability under state and federal security laws for unregistered broker-dealer activity or failure to disclose outside businesses? As a leader in the Georgia Republican Assembly, do you believe it was appropriate for Brant Frost V to solicit fellow activists and GRA members into an unregistered investment vehicle offering unusually high returns? This is something every financial advisor would see as a red flag. Somebody saying guaranteed 16% returns. Anybody worth their weight in that industry is going to tell their clients, stay away from that.
Yeah.
Were you aware that First Liberty funds or other Frost business money was used to fund GRA PAC activity? Looking forward, do you intend to cooperate with investigators or the SEC appointed receiver in any way? Would you like to offer a statement to those who may have invested based on your involvement or referral? We welcome your response by noon Wednesday, July 30th, and we'll include your comments in our upcoming coverage. Please note that if you decline to comment, we'll note that as well. So what time, guess, what time did Nathaniel Darnell respond to my request with the deadline of noon?
After the post hit.
No, he didn't. He got me just before. 11:47 a.m. the response. And out of courtesy, I printed the whole thing minus this stupid resolution that the GRA has passed that we'll talk about in a minute. Hello, Scott, he says. It's shocking and appalling what happened with First Liberty. My family are among the victims who were deceived and who entrusted money into their loan agreements. Along with many other victims, we are awaiting instructions from the receiver on how to process our claims to attempt to get our money back. Also, like the Georgia Republican Party and many individual Republicans across the state, we trusted the Frosts with their reputations over the last 38 years in their business. We heard many good reports from respected people across the state who vouched for them. In my conversations with them, we never were given any reason to believe that their business had turned into a Ponzi scheme. If we had, my family obviously would not have entrusted my money to them. We feel betrayed. We hope the victims of this deception from First Liberty will recover. As for the GRA, you can read the official statement attached from the GRA that was passed unanimously by the GRA board at our most recent board meeting. You'll notice he did not answer a single one of my questions.
Nope. Perhaps on the advice of counsel?
Catherine Bernard or Alex Johnson?
Trying to cast himself as a victim.
Yeah. Like, you're not a victim, bruh.
Not if you
Any money that you get back because you refer to other people in, it's probably going to go to other victims.
Yeah.
Because you have a part to play here. One
Allegedly.
of the things that drives me nuts about the GRA is they like to pitch this thing called the accountability rule.
Yeah.
Where's your... I don't know what I was expecting. I'll tell you exactly what I was expecting, because I wrote the post and I scheduled it to run at 12:15 p.m. yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And in it, the original version, in the draft version, it has a line: we reached out to Nathaniel Darnell and he did not respond. And because he sent it to me 11:47, I had to quickly unschedule it and then incorporate his response. And I didn't include initially in the draft of the post the questions I had asked him either. But because he was so evasive in answering my questions, I felt it was important to include them in the piece.
Yeah.
So I copied and pasted the email I sent him and put it in the post so that people could see these are the questions that he's going to be asked. I did not come up with these questions on my own. There are people I know who are licensed brokers, and these are the questions they told me I should ask.
Mm.
I am not, by the way, an expert in the regulated financial industry. I had to do a ton of research in order to figure out how this all works. And everybody has told me this guy's in serious doo-doo. And he's being evasive.
Yeah.
So I know as a result of our post, other reporters have reached out to him, and they're not getting answers from him either. So I don't know what he thinks is going to happen next, but if you are genuinely concerned about accountability as a concept, let me give you some unsolicited advice. And I am not a licensed therapist. I'm not presenting myself as one. So this advice is free. Man up. Stand up and take responsibility for your part in this. You want to be an example of what it looks like to be a repentant Christian, that you have wrapped yourself in the Jesus flag and tried to convince everybody that you're the most trustworthy person in the room because you're the most Christian, that you're living your life purely. You know how you maintain that? Stand up and take accountability. Admit your part in it. Don't run from it.
Yep.
There are a lot of people who took your advice and they're hurting right now.
Yep.
You're not a victim, bro.
Nope.
You are not a victim. You're part of the monster. You don't have to be. There's always room for grace. There's always room for repentance, but you have to do the things to make it right. And right now, Nathaniel Darnell is not. He's not showing any inclination whatsoever to do the right thing. And that is really disappointing.
Well, well said, Scott. You're right. And I know, Brant the Fourth started off by saying, I apologize. And, I'm going to assist in every way to make this right. And maybe that's still happening behind the scenes. But, as we talked about last week, there are reports that he's now taken the Fifth Amendment, not his son.
Not Cinco.
Yeah. So
pled the Fifth.
Yeah. A lot of clamming up, a lot of silence here instead of, I don't know.
So in his response to me, he included the resolution where the GRA leadership has decided to try to disassociate themselves.
Yeah.
With
like, who are these Frost people that you talk about?
Right. The Georgia Republican Assembly PAC.
Yeah.
That they now say they had nothing to do with. We know that this isn't true.
Right.
We know it's not true because Sam Thomas, who's one of our Patreons, and wrote a guest post about how they pitched it.
Yeah.
At an official Lanier Republican Assembly chapter meeting. And it was presented by the president of the organization before handing it off to Cinco to finish the pitch. I have a second piece about this over at the blog.
Yes.
And I was far less journalistic in this. I was much more just myself. And because by this time I'd been working on this for 3 days and I got full of snark.
Call it righteous indignation. How about that?
The Ethics Commission, the State Ethics Commission, led by David Amati, the aforementioned David Amati, has filed a complaint against the GRA PAC, specifically the PAC.
Mm-hmm.
But he gave us a quote when he filed the complaint that there is a line in there. It's the money line. The money line is, I'll read the whole quote to you from David Amati. He said, "The ethics complaint filed today represents our initial charges against the Georgia Republican Assembly PAC. Our investigation remains ongoing and additional charges may be coming at a future date, but we intend to aggressively pursue all violations of Georgia law committed by the GRA, which illegally influenced elections in 2024 and 2022. You said this is the Frostopus because it has tentacles that go in all these different directions.
I had no idea how wide and far.
Right. But this resolution that they passed saying, oh, it's not ours. I went to the Wayback Machine that allows you to look at it captures snapshots of current states of websites over time.
The internet lives on forever.
The internet is forever. So even if you delete something from your website, we can still go back and look at the way it was in January, April. We could look back 3 years. We could look back from its original version. We could see everything that was on there. And unless you're updating it every single day and you weren't with the PAC, that stuff where you were soliciting donations to the PAC on the GRA website, it's there.
Yeah.
Anybody can go look at it, the Wayback Machine. I linked it to the article. You can look for yourself.
It's not on their website now. I looked
earlier today. It's not on their
website
now. But the complaint alleges that the GRA PAC did not file as an IE and did not register in any form and did not file any reports. And they were able to look at transaction records and other disclosures and figure out where the money was going. So this is where the conspiracy gets even bigger.
Yeah.
Because there are organizations that were colluding with one another using the Frost money. The GRA is one of those organizations, according to the current filing by the State Ethics Commission. There are going to be more. More is coming. This thing, again, this hat that I'm wearing right now is my best friend.
I might need one too, Scott. Because
I'm not conspiratorial. I'm not. But this is starting to look more and more like a conspiracy.
Yeah. I mean, when this first started, Scott, my thought was, okay, the SEC complaint explained that 90% of the loans that were given out by First Liberty failed. They made promises to all the investors. So what do? You start a Ponzi scheme. You rob Peter to pay Paul, and that gets to be a vicious cycle. But now we're seeing it's so much more than that. So much more. It's not just to try to please investors who you made ridiculous promises to. It's to create. I mean, is it reasonable to say, Scott? It appears that this was also meant to fund the creation of some sort of political empire.
Yes.
That stretches across numerous states.
Yes. Yes. That's the conspiracy part.
Right.
Fonnie Willis has made RICO really hard to talk about from a conservative perspective. But there are organizations that are run by, some of them are nonprofits, but some of them are political consultants. Some of them are organizations that do text messaging and whatever. They were colluding and they were picking specific legislative races, school board races, and different. I mean, in Alabama, they're going to be just as much trouble.
Yeah.
But this, I just want to put a bow on the conversation around their resolution. And I want to read some of what I wrote. Now that the SEC and State Ethics Commission are circling like buzzards, the GRA leadership would like you to know they were shocked to discover the PAC even existed. They passed a resolution trying to wipe their hands clean, claiming the GRA PAC was totally independent, no connection, just a guy named Cinco doing his own thing. Police. Let's
Yeah.
start with the obvious. The PAC wasn't some rogue splinter group. It was pitched at the official GRA chapter meetings, and you can go to the Wayback Machine. So now the GRA wants you to act like they barely knew the PAC existed, like it was some long-lost cousin who just showed up at Thanksgiving with a checkbook and a megaphone. But the Wayback Machine tells a different story. Here's what the GRA's website actually said, and I'm quoting, "The GRA PAC is your very own personal rhino insurance policy where you can rest easy knowing that your money is working for you." Sounds like something a financial advisor might have said when they were creating it. I'm just speculating. I'm not alleging, I'm just speculating. It's also promised that every donor would have active input on all endorsement and contributions, and even bragged that the PAC was run by the grassroots for the grassroots. So it's not just Cinco.
Well, sure. That's what these nominating conventions were.
So they could figure out where the money was going.
Nominate people.
Right.
To give an endorsement to people. Endorsement conventions, I guess they were. To give an endorsement to people so they could cut checks to them.
Then almost as an afterthought came the fig leaf. Quote, "The GRA PAC is an independent committee and not directly controlled by the GRA. We are proud to partner with them to help elect grassroots candidates." Emphasis mine on the word partner.
Partner.
That line about being independent is as convincing as a drunk guy telling a cop, "I'm not driving, I'm just steering while the car rolls downhill." You don't get to partner with something that's supposedly independent, slap your name all over it,
right?
Promote it at official meetings, and then feign ignorance when the State Ethics Commission comes knocking.
Yeah.
If you promote it, if you fundraise for it, if you direct donors to it from your website, you own it. If it's not legal, certainly politically.
Yeah.
If this PAC was a tender date, the GRA took it home, gave it a drawer, and let it crash on the couch for 3 years. I'm really proud of that reference. I hope I got that right. Look, we all know why the PAC existed.
Sure.
It existed to boost the GRA's preferred candidates and to spend money against the ones they didn't like.
Yeah.
Right now, there are 6 candidates from another fund, or not candidates, 6 Republicans that they've targeted from another fund that they are pushing on their Twitter. And they're going after Sharon Cooper and Brad Thomas for whatever reason. I don't know what Brad did to make them angry, but apparently he did something. But Bill Cowser, who's running for AG.
Yeah.
They're targeting these people with the intent of getting them out of office. All of them Republican. All of them. Sharon Cooper is not my version of a Republican. I'm just going to say.
Sure.
I have affection for her because, I don't know, her prickly spirit, just I see eye to eye with her in a lot of, she has no tolerance for BS. So in that way, I have really grown to like her as a person.
Yep.
I don't think that her and I see eye to eye on very much policy. She's definitely far to my left.
But her district, this is what people, the kinds of arguments that you and I and many others have had with folks to our right. It's a caucus.
It's a caucus.
And when it was, and it's a majority caucus. And that means you have all kinds of different districts. Her district there in Cobb County is different than mine, which was very different than yours. Right. Mine was probably more like hers than it was like yours.
The thing that you and I loved to advocate for ourselves about was this right of conscience.
Yes.
Just let me vote my district and leave me alone.
Yes.
Don't punish me for voting my district.
Yes.
And so Sharon Cooper's district is a lot different than mine. Her voting record's going to look a lot different than mine. But I'll tell you this much, as conservative as I am, I have 0% chance of beating Sharon Cooper in a primary because I am not the flavor of Republican that district likes.
Yes.
But if Sharon Cooper tried to come here and run, I would beat her.
Yes.
Because she's not the flavor Republican my district likes.
Right.
It doesn't make it wrong for either of us to be in the chamber with an R next to our name.
Exactly.
It doesn't make either one of us rhinos. And this is what the GRA has built their whole brand of, is going after people like that who you have no viable alternative. The best you can hope for is build a relationship and try to work with them on the issues that you can agree on, because as Republicans, I guarantee you, there are going to be way more issues that you agree with Sharon Cooper on than the Democrat that would take her spot. Mm-hmm. And all you're doing by targeting her is making her that seat to be an easier pickup for Dems.
Yep.
I just,
the fallout. I mean, I think we have to raise the question now with this. The Frostopus has consumed the GRA and is going down with it. I think that's going to be a fallout of this. The GRA as it exists right now will have zero influence. A shell of the organization may exist, and if you're a person out there who looks at the platform that the GRA has and says, I like that, well, why don't you go in there and clean house? Because the people in charge now, the people who've been in charge, which include Cinco for years and years, and the aforementioned Mr. Darnell, have run it into the ground and all but turned it into accessories to a Ponzi scheme. So
if the
grassroots want to take it over, then take it over and clean house.
There's a nuance I want to make there, and that I don't know that they're involved or they had knowledge that it was a Ponzi scheme. I don't think Nathaniel, right. If Nathaniel Darnell got caught up in this and he gave his own money and he lost his own money in this, I don't think he does that if he knows it's a Ponzi scheme. So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. If that is true, then I will push back slightly and say,
fair enough. That's a fair point.
But at this point, the mountain of evidence that continues to accumulate is saying that the GRA definitely benefited from the Ponzi scheme. And therefore, they are one of the tentacles of the Frostopus. Mm-hmm. That's my last thought on this for this episode. I'll let you have the last word.
No, that's a good thought. And your pushback on me is right. We don't know who knew what, and we should keep that in mind. We don't know who knew what.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to wrap it up for our episode this week. I hope you enjoyed it. We enjoyed making it. But without this list of people, we wouldn't be talking here right now. They're the ones who make it possible. We call them the people who rock. They're the ones who go over to patreon.com/peachpundit every single month and sign up for one of our tiers starting at the $5 level. Being a patron gives you additional benefits. Again, come join us in that Signal chat. It's so much fun. I have so much fun talking with everybody in there.
Yes.
But they are Sam Thomas, Jordan Reed, Shannon Ferguson, Jeff Cobble, Hank Burnham, Ryan Purvis, James Hall, Colin Martin, Tony West and our friends at Americans for Prosperity, Robert Lee and our friends at Lisa Media, Stuart Wilkinson, Ron Daniels, Mike Buchert, an anonymous contributor who wants you to know more about the Alzheimer's Association, Bo Brannon, Ryan Graham, John Vestal, Reed Powell, Brett Harrell, Justin Wright, Bethany Ballard, and the one I forgot last week was Bill Werkheiser.
Yes.
Bill, I'm sorry.
So Bill gets mentioned twice.
Regret the error and blame others. We'll say, and also Bill Werkheiser to make up for it last week. Thank you for listening. Peach Pundit is me, Scott Turner, and Buzz Brockway. Thank you for taking the time to listen. Hopefully you will share this with a friend and like and subscribe. We'll catch you next time.
Go Jackets.